Welcome to Bond in 007, wherein I try to summarize the plot of a James Bond film in under 007 minutes. It sounds much easier than it is, as the plot of a James Bond film is secondary at best, and honestly, for good reason. This week we're diving into The Lone Lazenby, 1969's On Her Majesty's Secret Service. George may have had the shortest tenure as Bond, but he has the longest movie title, and no one can take that away from him. Cold open in M's office as he, Q, and Moneypenny all wonder as to the whereabouts of 007. We find Bond driving on a mountain road when a woman driving erratically passes him. James follows the woman and rescues her when she appears to be committing suicide by walking into the ocean. Some thugs emerge, interrupting their meet cute, and during the scuffle the mystery woman steals James's car, but just to drive to her car, at which James exclaims,
"This never happened to the other fella."
Title sequence where they revert back to having music rather than a song with lyrics. During the sequence, we see scenes from the previous movies, as if to suggest that even though this is a different actor, it's still the same character you saw in those other movies. Bond tracks the woman to a hotel in Portugal where the concierge tells him that she is Contessa Teresa de Vincenzo. In the casino, James saves her again when she loses a hand of baccarat without having any money to pay. She tells Bond to call her Tracy, and also that her perpetually risky behavior is because she's not trying to stay alive. She gives Bond a key to her hotel room, yet another risky decision. In her room, Bond finds not Tracy, but yet another thug, which he takes care of because of course he does. The Contessa once again proves herself to be a real handful when Bond returns to his room, but he seems more than willing to carry the burden. The next morning, Tracy is gone and Bond is abducted and taken to Draco, a European crime boss and coincidentally, Tracy's father. Draco offers Bond £1 million to marry Tracy to keep her out of trouble and to quote-unquote dominate her. It was a different time. James refuses, but offers to continue seeing her in exchange for the whereabouts of Ernst Stavro Blofeld. Draco is not a part of Spectre, but their similar interests have kept him aware of their activities. James returns to London, where M tells him he's off Operation Bedlam, the mission to take out Blofeld, due to a lack of progress. In a huff, Bond tells Moneypenny to submit his resignation to M, but always looking out for James, she changes it to a request for 2 weeks off, for which James is grateful. Tracy immediately becomes aware of the arrangement between her father and James, and demands that Draco tell Bond what he needs to know without any obligation. Draco reveals that Blofeld has connections with a Swiss lawyer named Gumbold, and that Bond should start there. Even with the information, Bond pursues Tracy, making it clear that his interest in her has always been genuine and it's not a she's-all-that situation. A montage of the couple doing couple things is very out of place in a Bond movie, but still very fitting in this movie. James goes to the lawyer's office in Sweden, where a very accommodating construction crew next door sends up his safe-cracking equipment. Inside the safe, Bond finds correspondence between Blofeld and a Sir Hilary Bray. Bray is a genealogist whom Blofeld has enlisted to prove that he is the rightful heir to a countship in France. Blofeld is sent to meet Sir Hilary at his allergy research lab in the Swiss Alps, so after meeting with Hilary, Bond impersonates the researcher and heads to the Alps himself. James is collected at the train station by Blofeld's assistant Irma Bunt before flying to the research station. At dinner, Bond meets the patients of the station, who all happen to be pretty ladies because of course they are. After dinner, Bond is summoned to the lair of Blofeld, who provides a pile of documents supporting his familial claim. When Bond inquires about the elaborate scientific setup and prison-like rules of an allergy facility, Blofeld claims it's imperative to maintain medical and psychological control to cure people of their allergies. That night, Bond escapes from his room and, let's say, visits one of the patients, named Ruby, who is allergic to chickens. At midnight, strange lights are activated above her bed and a recording of Blofeld's voice plays, putting Ruby instantly into a trance. Back in his room, Bond finds another of the patients, and he visits her too. He's meeting a lot of new people. In the morning, a man is caught climbing the mountain beneath the station. He's taken by the guards after sharing what appears to be a knowing look with James. When Bond goes back to Ruby's room the following night, he's surprised by Irma Bunt before being clubbed and brought to Blofeld. The mountain climber was an MI6 agent sent to monitor James, who was tortured and killed by Spectre, giving up Hilary Bray's true identity in the process. As he is so fond of doing, Blofeld reveals his plan to spread a virus throughout the world that causes sterility in plants and animals, effectively starving the world, if his demands for amnesty and power are not met. The pestilence is to be spread by the female patients of the facility, with their instructions embedded in the hypnotism that they receive at night. Bond is thrown into the bowels of the facility, which house the machinery for the gondola. While upstairs, the patients are knocked unconscious by spiked eggnog. It's Christmas, by the way. Bond scales the machinery to make his way back inside, where the sleeping women are played another recording, giving them their instructions for spreading Blofeld's crop-killing virus. Stealing some skiing equipment, Bond makes his way down the mountain as Spectre henchmen and Ernst himself give chase. James loses his skis and sends a mannequin plummeting to its death for a hilariously long shot. Making his way down to the town below, Bond runs into Tracy, who was given his location by her father. With Irma Bunt still on his tail, Tracy gives him a lift and the two escape before being stopped by a blizzard. Taking shelter in a barn, James proposes to Tracy, even saying that he will quit MI6 to be with her and keep her safe from his hectic life. In the meantime, she's smack in the middle of said hectic life when the pair are on another ski chase in the morning. Noticing that the couple have entered an avalanche area, Blofeld fires a projectile, triggering a snowslide. With Bond trapped beneath the snow, Tracy is dragged away by Blofeld's men. Back in London, M tells Bond that Blofeld is holding the world ransom, threatening to unleash his agriculture-destroying virus. The UN has already agreed to his terms, offering amnesty and recognizing him as a count. M refuses to rescue Tracy as the decision has already been made by those above him. Undeterred, Bond goes to Tracy's father, offering him a chance to get in on a demolition deal that may interest him. Draco and his men helicopter towards Blofeld's base where he is keeping Tracy. Recognizing her father's voice on the radio, Tracy plays along, pretending to give in to Blofeld's advances. The slightly less bad guys storm the facility, giving Tracy a chance to break free from her captor. As Draco's men plant charges to level the building, James chases Blofeld. Escaping just before the building is leveled, Bond and Blofeld have a bobsled chase that turns into a bobsled fight, and somehow neither of those things are as silly as they sound. After a struggle, James gets a win with some arboreal assistance and is rescued by Beethoven. Cut to the wedding of Tracy and the now former 007, where we see the usual office cast all saying their goodbyes to James. On the way to their honeymoon, the newlyweds pull over to remove the decorations from the car when Irma Bunt and the surviving Blofeld pass and open fire on the vehicle. Tracy is struck once in the head, and it's the saddest thing I've ever seen. I'm not crying, you're crying. This is probably my favorite of all of the movies, even though it's so weird in so many ways, but that's what makes it so good. And the fact that they really stick to ending it on such a devastating end. There's no follow-up to that. Tracy dies, you see the bullet hole in the windshield, and that's it. It's a really bold choice, especially for a James Bond movie. I really wish Lazenby had gotten more chances. He was great. I mean, the reason he didn't get more chances is his own fault, but still, it's a real shame. So that was on Her Majesty's Secret Service. Let me know what you think about this movie down in the comments. If you like what I'm doing here, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate all of it, and as always, stay tuned for more Bond in 007.